Oh, Toby, you really did it now, you pathetic fool. You can't call this movie an overrated mess. Have you even seen a bad movie before? This movie is great because the unlucky Tug said it was, and you should always believe what the unlucky Tug says, because anything he says is total facts. It's totally not just him stating his opinions. No, it's factual. It's the truth. He's right. Your video is awful based on the title alone, and I'm letting you know that before I even watch it. Unsubscribed. Okay, no, that's out of the way. Over a year ago, I made a video discussing Misty Island Rescue and why I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. The video did pretty well, so I thought to myself, why not make a sequel? It took me over a year to get it out. Only this time, I will be discussing a movie that I hate that almost everyone in the Thomas fandom universally loves. And if you read the title, then you know exactly what that movie is. Sodor's Legend of the Huge-Ass Clunky Title. Oh, I'm sorry. Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure. Seriously, what is that title? Why not something simple like The Great Treasure Hunt or Legend of the Lost Treasure, like they were originally going to title it as? Anyways, now for the two people out there that don't know, Legend of the Lost Treasure was one of two movies made for the 70th anniversary. But while The Adventure Begins was a great movie and a love letter to the Railway series, Legend of the Lost Treasure was the complete opposite. And yes, for the rest of this video, I'll be simply referring to it as Legend of the Lost Treasure, because it's shorter and has a better ring to it. And don't think I'm hating on this movie just to hate for views or whatever. I'm just giving my honest thoughts, and if you do like this movie, that's fine. I respect your opinion as long as you respect mine. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin this train wreck of a review. So I haven't actually watched this movie in like years, so I have to rewatch it to get some actual cohesive thoughts. Maybe it's better than I remember. Oh my god. Wow, that was bad. What happened here? How did they let this show get so dry and lifeless? Why are there so many animation errors? Where are your front wit? The good stuff. Before I begin tearing into this movie, I first want to point out the good stuff in it, because like any movie, it ain't all bad. Don't worry, this won't take long. First of all, I love that they gave Marion a big role in this. She already had a fun role in Tale of the Brave, and this movie expands on it. Her subplot is the only subplot that's actually original and interesting, and the only one the movie needed really, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The fact that someone as naive as Marion thought that Oliver the Engine somehow transformed into Oliver the Excavator by the miniature engines is frankly hilarious, and a nice little nod to the original books. It's also great how they finally acknowledge that there are in fact two Olivers. In all honesty, I kinda wish that the movie was just about her. Ditch the other subplots and have the Marion subplot be its own episode in like season 19 or something, and you already have a good movie. Another positive of this movie is Sailor John. Oh yeah, and Skiff too. Who cares about him, right? He's the only official villain in the franchise to be a human, and his voice performance is great.
Slow down! Who are you? And what are you doing sneaking about after me? Oh, so you discovered the pirate ship, did you? Well, that makes us friends. My name's John, Sailor John. That's what people around these parts like to call me anyway. Where's my treasure? Museum? What museum? I haven't been searching all this time to see that treasure end up in a museum. It's for me. I will not be pushed aside. Hold firm, Skip. I want my treasure.
You can tell his voice actor, John Hurt, was having fun with the role. He's also quite threatening, like he almost throws a piece of dynamite at Thomas.
So long, Thomas. It's been a blast. Thomas, look out! Oh, no!
I still prefer Diesel 10 as a villain, as he's much more humorous, but Sailor John is good too. Definitely the best aspect to come from this movie. What else? The animation is nice to look at, as usual. The soundtrack is really good, I guess, and, that song at the end wasn't bad. I think that's it.
That's it?
Why the movie sucks. Okay, now on to the part you have all come here for, to find out why the movie sucks. Now there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of reasons why I hate this movie, but I've managed to narrow it down to at least 3, so let's get straight into it. Number 1, the main character is an unlikable prat who lies about everything. I'm of course talking about Thomas. Thomas is such an idiot in this movie, and don't think I'm exaggerating. I know I defended Thomas in my Missiana Rescue review, but in that movie, he wasn't being a jerk for the sake of being a jerk. He became that way after rescuing Diesel from falling off the bridge and was complimented by Topham. Granted, there was that unintentionally racist comment he made toward Diesel at the beginning, but that's about it. Here, Thomas is a jerk throughout 90% of the movie and is so for no reason. Let me explain. At the start of the movie, he's racing Birdie. Nothing new there. Except he's racing dangerously, ignores a red signal, and cuts in front of my boy Toby at a junction. Like, dude, if he had hit him, they could have been seriously hurt. At least in season 1, Thomas was the only engine working on the branch line, so he didn't have to worry about crashing into other engines. But here, he doesn't seem to care. Also, remember in season 1, Sir Topham had warned Thomas not to race at dangerous speeds, and he seemed to heed his warning as he and Birdie never raced again, until season 7. But there it was simply for fun, and by then Thomas had matured, and stopped the race halfway to help out the children. But here, he doesn't give a rat's ass about his passengers' safety, and he even admitted to Annie and Clarabelle that he's literally disobeying Sir Topham's warning.
Nonsense! What does he know? I've been racing on my branch line for years!
What the hell is wrong with you?
Anyways, the next day, Thomas is struggling to wake up, and after Henry leaves and tells Thomas that Gordon is waiting, we see that Thomas is purposefully refusing to wake up to delay the express, something that even season 1 Thomas would not do. Then he goes to shunt the train and even has the balls to call Gordon lazy when he's the one being lazy himself.
But you are lazy, Gordon. Otherwise, you'd fetch your own coaches.
And then when Gordon makes fun of Thomas, he decides to leave with the express coaches without any regard for safety or intelligence, passes a red signal, and in typical Thomas fashion, crashes, delaying the express and blocking the yards. Like, dude, what did you think was gonna happen? And then when Sir Topham comes to inspect the accident, instead of telling the truth, Thomas decides to lie and pin the blame onto Gordon and Emily.
But it's not my fault, sir. Gordon must have been at the wrong platform, sir, and Emily was coming in very fast and...
Hey, Thomas, listen to me, buddy. You had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 people witnessed what you did. You have no reason to hide your wrongdoing. I'm pretty sure even Sir Topham had witnessed what you did. I get that Thomas has lied before in the past, take saving Edward for example, but in that episode, Thomas is lying to get someone else out of trouble, as he thought Edward would be scrapped if Sir Topham had found out he was wheezing. Here, Thomas is only really lying to get himself out of trouble. Again, this is something Thomas should already know better than to do. Anyways, after this scene, Ryan shows up. I'll get to that later. So Thomas goes to the construction site and notices some rails and sleepers. Now, we're going to play a little game here. What does Thomas do next? Does he A, leave the rails and sleepers alone and go about his work, B, go to one of the staff working at the site and ask them about the rails and sleepers, or C, just not think about it? If you chose any of these, you are dead wrong. Instead of doing any of that logical stuff, he decides to shunt the rails and sleepers to wherever. Like, what? You don't even know where you're supposed to take those. Why are you shunting them? And when others try to warn him, he somehow doesn't hear them and just keeps going. I'm not even joking.
Everyone here seems excited to see me. I guess they really need my help.
Like, are you deaf or something? How do you not see or hear that they're trying to warn you? This is seriously giving me Wonky Whistle vibes, and everybody hates that episode. How is this okay, but that isn't? So Thomas, being the idiot he is, crashes through some signs, falls into a cavern in one of the most ridiculous action sequences, complete with a slow motion scene, crashes, and discovers a pirate ship. Like, what did you think was gonna happen, you moron? So Thomas is rescued from the pit and Sir Topham Hatt skills him. Thomas, once again, refuses to take full responsibility and tells Topham that no one warned him about the danger signs, which is technically true. He wasn't warned about them beforehand, but you were the one that decided to shunt them without being asked, and they did try to warn you, but because you're so stupid and deaf that you didn't hear them. Luckily, Sir Topham Hatt has more than 2 working brain cells and doesn't buy into Thomas's BS. Some people say Sir Topham Hatt is too harsh on Thomas, but I call that BS. Sir Topham Hatt was acting perfectly reasonable. Thomas literally caused a huge accident and delayed the express and possibly others thanks to his own selfishness and stupidity, so Sir Topham Hatt has every right to punish him. Granted, I don't agree with the punishment itself. I mean, working on a construction site, that sounds more like a reward to me, but point still stands. And when Thomas causes another crash and refuses to take responsibility for it, again, Sir Topham Hatt has every right to be mad at him. I do agree that he was a bit harsh on the 3rd incident, but I still can't blame him here because Thomas has done nothing but lie up to this point, and when he tries to explain himself, of course Sir Topham Hatt is not going to believe him. Some people say the other engines and vehicles should have comforted Thomas, but honestly, I don't blame them. If I were in their shoes, I would try to stay out of it as well. The only real problem I have with Sir Topham Hatt in this movie is this scene.
It is,
Thomas, there's nothing to be sorry about. I'm proud of you. Ryan told me everything, and I know you did your best to stop that pirate getting away.
I mean, like, you didn't even apologize to Thomas for your actions. This scene would have been more impactful if we actually saw Ryan telling Sir Topham Hatt everything instead of just being told it. Thankfully, after this point, I have literally nothing to say about Thomas as a character, other than the stuff with him and Sailor John. I feel like this plot is the only part of the movie where I don't hate Thomas in. I think it fits Thomas's young, naive character quite well, but that's about it. Then there's the other half of the movie that focuses on him and Ryan, which leads me to my next point. 2. The plot feels like a rehash of The Great Discovery. I'm not even joking. This movie is just The Great Discovery all over again. A new engine comes to the island of Sodor. Thomas is immediately jealous of him, but learns to accept him by the end of the movie. It's literally the same plot. But there are 3 major differences that make The Great Discovery the superior movie. So let's talk about them right now. 1. Thomas's jealousy actually feels genuine. In The Great Discovery, when Stanley arrives on Sodor, Thomas hears about him from James, and James tells Thomas how great Stanley is, which kickstarts Thomas's jealousy. And throughout the movie, we get some time spent on Thomas seeing Stanley hang out with the other engines, even going so far as pulling Annie and Clarabelle before finally exploding, if that's even the right word, at Tim's sheds. He sees Stanley in his berth, laughing with the other engines, and this is where his full hatred for him begins. Thomas's jealousy isn't immediate. We have time spent on him and Stanley before it happens. I can totally see why Thomas would be jealous of Stanley because we get some time spent on them. That doesn't make Thomas's actions justified, but understandable. Here, Thomas's jealousy is just immediate. Ryan just shows up out of nowhere. Sir Topham Hatt sends him to work on Thomas's branch line, and that's the reason Thomas is jealous of him. That's it. There is no time built up for Thomas to hate Ryan. The conflict just happens. It's not because the other engines like Ryan. It's not because they say Ryan is better than Thomas. It's because he's working on Thomas's branch line, despite the fact that the only reason he's working on Thomas's branch line is because he's a stupid mother-trucking idiot. My question is, why do we even need this plot at all? Why isn't Thomas just indifferent to Ryan? It's literally just conflict for the sake of conflict. 2. Thomas does something to the newcomer that's entirely at fault. In The Great Discovery, after Stanley is put in charge of Great Waterton, he asks Thomas to shut some trucks. Thomas goes back to old habits and decides to play a trick on Stanley by giving him too many trucks. Stanley notices that the train is too long, but since Thomas said he was a strong engine, he decides to take them anyway, causing the front truck to snap and the entire train to roll down the hill and crash into the tower. This fits Thomas's cheeky personality quite well, and him feeling guilty about it afterwards shows that he's still his mature self from season 5. There ain't no moment like that in Lost Treasure. Thomas doesn't attack Ryan physically, he just neglects to warn Ryan about the bad coal, even though he shouldn't have needed to do that. I mean, wouldn't a workman or someone have known about it, and they would have warned Ryan's crew, or Ryan himself about the coal? Thomas could have simply just forgotten to warn Ryan, and it wouldn't have made a difference. Granted, they do set up the bad coal earlier on in the movie, but still. So because Ryan took on bad coal, he arrives with smoke and sparks coming out of his funnel. The sparks ignite the dynamite in the trucks, that weren't covered up by the way, which causes the trucks to catch fire, leading to an epic action sequence before Thomas shoves the dynamite into the pit. The dynamite explodes and Thomas gets told off. How is Thomas the bad guy here? Ryan was assigned to do one of the stupidest tasks on the planet, carrying dynamite in open trucks. I would have done the exact same thing if I were in his place. If you don't want dynamite to ignite while in transport, then cover the trucks with a tarp so that they won't be exposed to the sun, or even better, put them in an enclosed wagon, for crying out loud. Thomas's jealousy for Ryan literally goes nowhere. Nothing happens that interests me, and after this scene, we get no time spent on Thomas to feel guilty. Speaking of, and 3, the apology at the end feels earned and real. After the tower crash, Thomas tries to redeem himself by shunting away the trucks, which doesn't go very well, and he ends up in the mine. After several hours, crashes through a bush, tumbles down a valley, and ends up next to an old track. While there, he's left to think about his actions and realizes that he was in the wrong throughout the whole movie.
I wish I hadn't made Stanley pull all those freight cars. I didn't like him doing my jobs, and now look where I am. I'm a very silly engine.
Meanwhile, while everyone is searching for Thomas, we get a scene with Stanley thinking about Thomas and how sad he was after the accident. And he says one of the best lines of the whole show.
Thomas isn't a bad engine. He's a sad engine.
And when the two reunite, Thomas actually apologizes to Stanley, and Stanley helps him out of the ravine. But Thomas doesn't just say he's sorry, he shows it by helping Stanley back to Great Waterton. This scene works well because when Thomas apologizes, we can tell he means it because we saw it beforehand that he's feeling guilty, and at the same time, we get enough time spent on Stanley for us to care about him. And the movie thus ends on a wonderful note, with Thomas asking if Stanley can have his job. He's even pulling Annie and Clarabelle, and he ain't mad about it. Gee, I sure hope Legend of Lost Treasure's resolution is just as it just has Thomas and Ryan apologize to each other. And that's it. I'm serious. There's no time spent on Thomas for him to feel guilty. There's no time spent on Ryan for us to care about him. The apology just happens. And it's not even a real apology. Ryan thanks Thomas and says he's sorry for getting him into trouble, and Thomas says sorry for not warning him, and that's it. He doesn't even sound or look like he meant it. He's probably just saying that to not get on Ryan's bad side. And also, what was even the point? All Ryan does during the climax is pull down the pirate ship. There is no moment where Thomas helps Ryan at all. Instead, Ryan helps Thomas, and he's the victim in this situation. I don't think they even say a word to each other for the rest of the movie, and I don't think they even see each other again for the rest of the series. And not to mention, I fucking hate Ryan! I don't care what anyone says, I just can't stand him. His design is very eye-catching apart from the purple paint, but he's so bland and uninteresting that it's hard to sympathize with him. And he's supposed to be the token newbie! At least Stanley had some character traits in The Great Discovery. He's blissfully naive, he doesn't know his own strength, and he sees the good in everyone. What unique character traits does Ryan have? As far as I can see, nothing. What they should have done with Ryan is what they were originally going to do, and have him be an overconfident and dismissive engine. Not only would that make Ryan so much more interesting, but it would give Thomas a better reason not to like him. Heck, you can even flip-flop the roles and have the new engine be the one that's jealous of Thomas. Now, doesn't that sound so much more interesting? The only thing Ryan has over Stanley is that he actually looks like an engine that actually would be a threat to Thomas. But other than that, there is no way I can say that Ryan is any better than Stanley. At least in this movie. What they do with them afterwards is a completely different story. Stanley does absolutely nothing following The Great Discovery, while Ryan at least got one episode in season 20 where we learned that he struggles to say no when it comes to Daisy. I mean, it's not much, but it's at least something. So yeah, The Great Discovery did the Thomas hates the new engine trope far better, and if anyone can convince me that this movie is better than that, I'd be genuinely impressed. Number 3. There are so many setups that are never paid off. What do I mean by this? Well, remember back in Mission Rescue, when Diesel and the search and rescue team were set up only for them to not contribute much in the overall story? Well, they did the exact same thing here, except there's even more examples and it's somehow even worse here. Let me give you a rundown of what I'm talking about. So Gordon appears at the beginning of the movie, and here is where we see that he still doesn't like fetching his own coaches and thinks it's a job for silly little tank engines.
You know full well that tender engines are too big for shunting. That's what silly little tank engines are for.
Why is Gordon being so rude to Thomas this late in the game? What happened to their alliance back in season 1?
Shall we form an alliance? You help me and I'll help you. Right you are, agreed Thomas.
That's not my main problem with this. My main problem is that this scene contributes nothing to the overall story. We never see Gordon get his comeuppance, we never see him getting a stern talking to, and we never see him apologize to Thomas and earn his respect. Nothing. It just exists so that Thomas could cause a crash and have him be sent away to work at Augsburg. That's it. Speaking of big engines, another character that contributes nothing to the story is Henry. Not only is Henry in his scared persona like in the rest of the CGI series, but his subplot adds nothing to the story. It's only there for a character to give an explanation about Captain Callus and how the pirate ship got there in the first place. And having Salty be that character makes sense, as he's the only character that would tell anything like this. But why did it have to be Henry? He does absolutely nothing after this point aside from running around screaming like a pussy. There's no moment where he confronts Sailor John or plays any sort of role in the final showdown. Why not use, Thomas, the main character? That would explain why he was so willing to go after Sailor John, rather than him going after John just because, and would explain how he knows about the treasure being stolen. Why did they think bringing Henry into this was a good idea when he contributes nothing overall? Donald and Douglas are in this, and they don't do a damn thing. They have a scene at the beginning, but it ultimately goes nowhere. All they do in this movie is pull trains in the background and pull the pirate ship to Augsburg. That's it. This scene is clearly only here for fan service. If you're going to keep this scene in the film, you need to give Donald and Douglas some sort of role in this. It doesn't have to be anything major. It could be something small like comforting Thomas when he's at his lowest low, or bringing the police to Sailor John's arrest. Why they use Captain in that scene is beyond me. Or my suggestion, just remove the scene entirely and just have Donald and Douglas be background characters. You did that with Oliver and Tail the Brave, and you did that with Max and Monty. Why not do it here? This line is never followed up on.
If the Fat Controller has a new branch line, he might close down our old branch line.
The Small Rally Engine's only contribution is the Marion subplot, which, as good as it was, could easily be cut out of the movie and not much would change. They have a scene with Thomas and even get their own music video. What was the point? I have a feeling the small engines were given their own music video just so they can stick in the minds of kids a bit more, and then they'd remember the characters when they see them on the shelf. The music video comes out of nowhere and teaches us a moral that isn't relevant to the story. The main thing to take away from it is its chorus, never overlook a little engine. It's a perfect setup for use later, but there is no payoff. Thomas is never put in a situation where his size makes a difference, making this music video absolutely pointless. He just says the line during the chase scene when the Smallies play their part.
Never overlook a little engine.
I guess this is kind of a payoff, but it feels cheap. Half of this movie is utterly pointless filler. This would have really benefited from a couple more rewrites to try and connect all these loose ends and dispose of ones that were not relevant overall. So before I state my conclusion, here are a few minor nitpicks that I couldn't place in this video. Why was Thomas shunting at Knapford Yards when there are other shunters present that are shown to work at the yard before and after Philip's arrival? Why was Gordon on platform 5 instead of platform 1? How did those coaches uncouple from Thomas when he shoved them into Emily? If Ryan's supposed to be working on Thomas's branch line, why would Sir Topham Hatt send him to go working on the construction site while Thomas is at the works? Who's going to be doing Percy's work while he's doing Thomas's jobs on his branch line? How did Sailor John manage to get a huge ship onto the top of a hill and use it in the climax? What was even the point of doing that? It served literally nothing. That close-up of Thomas's driver and fireman was really unnecessary. So overall, this movie is absolutely terrible. From the long-ass title, to the atrociously written characters, to the reharshed stories, to the lack of payoff, this film is a cluttered mess. I seriously feel like this movie was more reliant on fan service than good writing. The writers brought back Donald, Douglas, Daisy, Alfie, Oliver, Max and Monty, and brought the small railway engines into the show, but did nothing with them. From what I understand, the whole reason this movie was made was because Andrew Brenner looked up a railboat on wheels and wrote the whole movie centered around that.
I came across these images of this guy in a little sailboat that had been set up to be on rails, and I thought this little character of a sailboat on wheels would be such a nice way of having the sea and the railway come together. From those images, I started to find a way into this story that became the Legend of the Lost Treasure.
So the only reason this movie exists is so that we can introduce a railboat into the series. Now, don't get me wrong, Skip's a great character, but you don't need to write a whole movie just to introduce him. You could have introduced him in a normal episode and it would have been fine. And in my opinion, this movie shouldn't exist because all this film does is stuff that has already been done before. Like, we already have an episode about Thomas discovering treasure. We already have a movie about Thomas being threatened by a newcomer. We already have an episode about Henry being scared of ghosts. Literally the only thing that's original is the Marion subplot. And even then, you could, and honestly should, have this be its own episode in season 19 or 20. And it wouldn't have made a difference. I just don't understand exactly why all of its flaws disregarded by the community. Don't get me wrong, I do somewhat understand why Lost Treasure is so popular, but no way in hell does it deserve to be crowned as the best Thomas special. It's just too gimmicky for me. And in my opinion, the only Thomas special that is worse than this one is Big Roll Big Adventures. The only reason being at least Lost Treasure has some redeemable qualities, whereas that movie only has one, that being that Nia is actually written well. I give this film a very generous 2 out of 10, but trust me, I could have very easily given this a 0. So this is the part of the video where I'd give my rewrite of this movie and what I would improve about it. But since this video has gone on for long enough, I'll save that for another day.